Hey guys, yeah, I'm sick. Hey guys, Ron here, and for years now, I've been dabbling in some Pokemon art trends like creating new Fakemon from existing Pokemon names and flipping Evos and Prevos, but for the first time, I will finally try my hand at one of the oldest Pokemon art trends online. Pokemon crossbreeds. You know how Pokemon can breed with other species as long as they're in the same egg group, but despite the offspring having two completely different Pokemon for parents, in the game they're always a genetic copy of their mother, at least physically. Well, what if a Pokemon actually inherited traits from their father too? Some of you might be thinking that this is the same as fusions, but while Pokemon fusions are completely new Pokemon with a 50-50 combination of both parents, but Pokemon crossbreeds are very much one species with a bit of another, like if Pikachu had a Bibarel father and acquired some Bidoof traits. Well, that's what we're going to do today, because since I'm sick, I need something wholesome to look at. Now, it's been a tradition online to usually just pick one Pokemon and do a bunch of crossbreeds for that singular Pokemon. But for the sake of entertainment, I'm not going to do any overlapping Pokemon, so we have more time to create a bunch of unique combinations. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see a part 2. Now, this is actually going to be a confusing one to start with because it'll be the only one where the mother isn't the same species as the child we're designing. I want to see what an Arboliva would look like if it had the more curvaceous and queenly proportions of a Tsareena. But since Tsareena are all female, the father will have to be a tall and handsome Arboliva that some Tsareena falls in love with. Since these Pokemon are evolutionarily extremely similar, I don't think it's too far-fetched for a Tsareena to give birth to a Smoliv that will eventually look like this. Not only are they similar Pokemon, but their body parts can be easily combined, like the leaf collar that guards their face. I'm basically making a slightly shorter and curvier Arboliva with an olive crown. Its root dress is shorter, revealing shapely Tsareena legs. Its natural leaf hair is more akin to its mother's, and it even gets Tsareena's eyelashes. It really does look like an Arboliva that was born to a Tsareena who basically transmitted her style and flair to her Arboliva daughter. Say hi to Tropical Arboliva, a pure grass type with the abilities Seed Sower, Queenly Majesty, and Harvest. This kind of Arboliva is very compassionate yet merciless in battle. They launch their oils at opponents to blind them and instantly follow up with a kick to the face. They are more outgoing than the more refined Arboliva one can find, in Paldea. Far less modest, they proudly show off their beauty. Tropical Arboliva's fruit is far sweeter than those found in Paldea too. Let's move on to another combo that technically makes a lot of sense. Female Dragonair and male Milotic. What if female Milotic are so picky about their mate that some male Milotic prefer to set their sights on the other beautiful serpent that swims in their lakes? Their child would be a pretty Dragonite that retains its sea serpent shape and is adorned with beautiful scales. Again, both these Pokemon are already, they have similar features. I'm basically making a Dragonite that is much more sleek and slender and reminiscent of its serpentine Prevos, but it's still a Dragonite. It will get its Dragonite antennas and longer horn from its Milotic father instead. The 3 dots are its gills, and its wings are a bit underdeveloped. Its tail is all Milotic, since that's where half of Milotic's beauty resides. Behold, Majestic Dragonite, a dragon water type with the abilities Marvel Scale and Multiscale. These humble Dragonites cannot fly over long distances, as their wings are smaller than average, but their ability to swim is impeccable. Unlike the river and lake-dwelling Milotic, this Dragonite lives in the open ocean. Other Dragonites are jealous of its beauty, so it lives alone, but despite its ostracization, it is quite compassionate. No Pokemon has such an immense combination of beauty and power. Glalie is a very intense and intimidating Pokemon, so what if a male Vanilluxe captured the heart of a female Glalie by being all goofy and fun, allowing this Glalie gal to finally show her softer side beneath this hard, icy exterior? They'd have a jolly baby, of course. We're simply drawing a Glalie with icicles that look like Vanilluxe's cone. It's smiling, and of course its horn will act like a wafer-like siphon that Vanilluxe has, where it expels snow. Check out Sweet Glalie, an ice type with ice body, inner focus, and moody. This type of Glalie is surprisingly kind. It lives among a pack of Vanilluxe. Its ice armor is softer to the touch, but its much more passionate heart allows it to battle for much longer, as it will bond with a trainer more easily than the average Glalie. It expels fresh snow from its horns for children to play with. Jynx and Gallade are very similar Pokemon, psychic humanoids, so it wouldn't be surprising if a Gallade fell in love with a dancing Jynx, and a Jynx fell in love with a brave and bold Gallade. Their baby would hopefully have the best qualities of both. So imagine a much more slender and taller Jynx with Gallade arms. She even acquires the more appealing face from the Ralts line. Originally, I was even going to give her a bob as a middle ground between her parents' heads, but honestly, this is a Jynx, so it should have the long hair of a Jynx. Behold, Gallant Jynx, a Psychic Ice type with the abilities Forewarn, Sharpen, and Steadfast. This Jynx has been cherished throughout history, but despite their masters trying their best to keep Jynx safe, she would always spring into action whenever danger was near. They use their extended elbows to fight with movements akin to dancing. They gorgeously twirl and jump in battle. An entire audience can't help but dance in unison as this Pokemon fights. This kind of Jynx does not intentionally seduce those around it, and does not understand why everyone it meets is so excited when it appears. A famous mother in the Pokemon world is Marowak. What if Marowak seeks out a stronger mate to protect their young? An Aggron would be a fine father, but what if both parents fall in battle, protecting their young child? This Cubone will put on their father's skull and evolve into an Iron Marowak. So this Marowak is much bigger than the average Marowak, but much smaller than an Aggron. So when it puts on its father's skull as a Cubone, it never fully fuses as a Marowak. It's born with extra protective plates that it inherits from its father. Beware, Iron Marowak, a ground steel type. This Pokemon vigilantly protects the mountains its father once called home. It will attack those that come near the site of its parents' demise. The oversized skull of its father never properly fused with its head, making it quite challenging for Marowak to move around. Its hide is covered in armor that it inherited from its father. The loss of both parents makes it tough for this species of Marowak to overcome its grief. Reuniclus is a fun one to find a mate for, since we can place any Pokemon inside of that gelatinous film. What if a bad boy Gengar impressed a sweet little naive Reuniclus? They fall in love, and the father's gas attributed to the child to be a bit more troubled. So what if Reuniclus was born with the face and physique of its Gengar father? Its fingers and ears are also a bit sharper. Its dad is definitely a bad influence. Beware, Sinister Reuniclus, a psychic poison type. The gas that built up inside this Reuniclus's membrane makes it act a bit more erratic. It punches foes with its arms and injects poison. It is far too playful and rarely takes battle seriously. It will only focus on taking down its foe if its trainer eggs him on, or if it has a personal grudge against its opponent. Ribombee isn't the only bug Pokemon with body parts that allude to a scarf. What if an Accelgor and Ribombee hooked up and their child was a Ninja Ribombee? A bit more aloof, yet still kinda cute. It's literally a Ribombee, but with Accelgor's membrane wrapping around its body as a scarf. It has its arms to its side as it flies, what you may recognize as the Naruto run. Check out Shinobi Ribombee, a bug fairy type with the abilities Shield Dust, Sticky Hold, and Unburden. This elusive Ribombee uses its pollen puffs to power up its abilities. It wraps up ribbons of pollen around its body to make a protective shield. It is incredibly attuned to its surroundings, able to predict the weather and its hiding predators. It dodges opponents with blinding speed, and retaliates with a signature Pollen Shuriken. It is the only kind of Ribombee known to actually adore the rain. We all know Salazzle can easily find a mate, but what if a goofy Goodra came around and was totally oblivious to Salazzle's charms? At first, this Salazzle wouldn't pay any mind to this male Goodra, but it would quickly get offended by how this Goodra ignores her pheromones. Eventually, she appreciates and even falls in love with this Goodra, and must make him notice her, not by using her body, but through her personality. Once in love, they are inseparable, especially since they're both quite sticky. Their child would be legendary in some circles of the internet. So imagine a Salazzle inherited the thighs of its Goodra father, as well as his demeanor and horns. Both Salazzle and Goodra are sticky, so its Goodra genes only exacerbate the salamander film that Salazzle has. Its fingers and toes are shorter compared to the average Salazzle, and of course, a mixture of both parents' patterns was in order. Say hi to Slimy Salazzle, a poison dragon type with the abilities Corrosion and Gooey. This Salazzle does not create a harem and prefers a monogamous relationship with its one true love. Its poison gets trapped within the mucus that it produces, so its gases do not diffuse. This Salazzle must launch its slime in order to deliver its noxious toxins. It is quite bashful and does not want to stick out. It's the friendliest Salazzle one can find, and many trainers appreciate its gentle nature. Many male Salandit prefer the presence of this much more kind Salazzle. It gets picked on by jealous Salazzle, but easily intimidates them with its larger size whenever it has had enough of their bullying. Male Salandit will come to the defense of this Salazzle, only to be surprised by Slimy Salazzle's ability to take care of its bullies alone. Xatu and Braviary are both Native American warrior birds. What if a stoic and intelligent Xatu became friends with a wild and free Braviary? They would be the classic duo that butts heads with each other but eventually falls in love. They would complement each other, and their child would be both intelligent and fierce. So I'm making a sleeker Xatu that is ready for battle. It has its father's headdress with a mixture of its mother's thin head plumage. It learned this stance from its father. Behold, Warrior Xatu, a flying psychic type with the abilities Synchronize, Sheer Force, and Defiant. As the offspring of the wisest Xatu and bravest Braviary, this Xatu has inherited the best traits of both its parents. Unlike most Xatu, this one is incredibly decisive and uses its future sight to win battle after battle. It has much to prove and is constantly under pressure to fill the massive shoes of its respected parents. Since it never gets hit, it does not receive any scars, which are usually respected among Braviary. However, it gains the respect of its Braviary cousins by leading them into battle and devising incredibly successful strategies. Now imagine a female Zoroark who gets up to a bunch of mischief. She tries to trick a human, but is caught by a loyal Stoutland, who eventually shows her the joys of an honest life. Their child would be a Zoroark, who must struggle between their instincts to be bad and good. I'm designing a much more scruffy Zoroark with Stoutland's mustache and mane replacing Zoroark's hair. It's slightly less upright than the average Zoroark. I personally love how the eyes are a mixture of both parents. Here is Big-Hearted Zoroark, a dark normal type. Ever since birth, despite its loyalty and incredibly kind heart, this Pokemon has struggled with the instinct to use its illusions for trickery. It loves to fool others, but feels bad once its tricks cause emotional distress. Many big-hearted Zoroark have learned how to use their powers for good, projecting comforting illusions to those caught in disasters. It would never harm a trainer and will instinctively guide a lost child back home. And I hope you guide your mouse to the like button and click it. Subscribe if you haven't so I know you want to see a part 2. Let me know which crossbreed you enjoyed the most and why, and make sure to check out the description for the music I used, the t-shirts I made for you guys, and my Patreon where you can get cool rewards like seeing my videos days early, which you can also do by clicking the join button and becoming a member. Make sure to follow me on Twitter where I show sneak peeks of these designs, and I'll see you guys very soon.